Something feels different in Santa Clara today. There's smoke on the horizon, noise in the hallways, and a key piece that could change everything, but it's not the one you're thinking of. One shock hit the defense, another poked the offense, and a roster decision quietly opened space for something bigger. And there's a silent detail in our captain's foot that could turn into the headline of the week. What does all of this mean for the February dream? You won't believe what we've got today, so take a seat, drop a like, and let's get straight to it. Stick with me. Stay to the end because the final twist might flip your outlook on the entire stretch run, and it comes from a place nobody saw coming. You know, the kind of move that reshapes the league's map? It exists, it's on the table, and the price tag can rattle even the bravest front office. With the defense bleeding and the trade deadline clock getting louder, the question keeps pounding. How much would it cost to turn Levi's into a no-fly zone for rival QBs? Hold that anxiety because the answer runs through a name that blows up game plans and silences entire stadiums. A talent who barely leaves the field, trusts his endless motor, and imposes a physical tone that ignites the sideline. And what if that bold fit is exactly the fuel this locker room needs to push toward January? We're talking about Maxx Crosby. The Condor flew back onto the red and gold radar when reports surfaced that the Dallas Cowboys checked in with the Raiders about a deal, a sign that a run at an elite pass rusher could turn into a fast-moving auction. The complication is the contract. In March, Las Vegas locked the star up through 2029 on a 3-year extension worth $106.5 million with a staggering $91.5 million guaranteed. So the conversation only starts with heavy assets. The Raiders, at 2-5 and losers in 5 of their last 6, haven't publicly signaled any desire to move on from their cornerstone defender. There's a plausible lane. Analyst projections have placed the 49ers among the most aggressive suitors if Crosby truly becomes available, and even sketched a price. 2026 first and fourth rounders, 2027 first and fifth rounders, and wide receiver Juwan Jennings. The logic is simple. With veterans like Trent Williams and Christian McCaffrey healthy, this is the window to swing for the fences. And San Francisco's cap space gives them the flexibility to absorb the first-year hit. Drop him into Chris Kukurek's wide 9 and the defensive identity changes overnight. Edges play faster, stunts land cleaner, and the back end buys precious beats to close windows. But this isn't just about writing the check, it's about philosophy. Kyle Shanahan keeps repeating that he wants help now without lighting next year on fire, urgency with sustainability. And the need is real. Nick Bosa and Fred Warner are out for the season, and Bryce Huff, who rekindled the pass rush, is now out for a few weeks with a hamstring, shrinking the rotation. Every sack Crosby records between now and November 4th heats the market and nudges the price. If John Lynch sees a legitimate title window, then surrendering 2 firsts and a playoff-tested contributor for a true closer becomes opportunity cost, not luxury. Some Sundays, one edge rusher changes the very language of football in Santa Clara, and that wasn't even the most surprising part of the day. The margin for error off the edge is down to the studs, and expecting it to fix itself is a gamble. Shanahan doesn't run seasons on hope. Behind the scenes, the defensive staff is sketching hybrid packages to mask the hole, toggling looks with linebackers threatening the interior and safeties disguising late pressure. But all that sleight of hand has a ceiling. Without a trustworthy piece in the rotation, the rush loses rhythm and identity. When the edge doesn't land, the secondary pays the bill. That's where the market keeps calling. Shanahan emphasized he wants a player with years of control, not a 2-month rental. In that lane, Will McDonald fits like a glove. The former Jet effectively replaced Bryce Huff in New York and brings the burst, bend, and first step violence this front needs, with experience in wide 9 principles. In San Francisco, he'd slide into pass-down packages, keep the RPMs high, and restore balance alongside run-solid starters Michael Williams and Sam Okwuegbunam. Yetur Gross-Matos is expected to miss at least another week, so the staff will lean on Trevis Gibson and either William Bradley King or Robert Beal Jr. from the practice squad. Those 3 combined for just 2 pressures this season, numbers that underline the urgency to act before the deadline. So the question isn't if they'll move, it's when. Every week without help piles extra snaps on Williams and Okwuegbunam. Yes, the win over Atlanta bought time and calmed nerves, but the Texans will stress this front in different ways. Without fresh legs to hunt the quarterback, even a middle-tier offense can grind a defense down over 4 quarters. The clock is ticking, and inertia is not a plan. Be aggressive now, or watch the problem snowball. Something is off in Santa Clara, and the silence says the most. Brock Purdy, the same cool-blooded leader who has piloted this team with poise, now fights an invisible battle, his own body. What looked like a simple turf toe became a riddle. The return 2 weeks later against Jacksonville sounded like bravery, but came with a steep price. The pain flared, and the doubt crept in. Shanahan was blunt yet cryptic. Asked if it's fair to say Purdy is on track to start Sunday against Houston, he paused and said, "I'd say that's a reach. No one has said that." To be clear, the 49ers haven't said much of anything. According to reporting, Purdy told the TV crew there's no firm timetable. He worked out on Sunday, didn't feel right, and went back to treatment. That's not rumor. That's signal. For a quarterback, toe health isn't cosmetic. It's balance, plant, and transfer. If the base isn't right, the ball dies. The frustration is obvious. Purdy just got paid, took on the franchise mantle, and now a toe is stealing his burst, his footwork, his precision. The quarterback who extended plays and layered throws with touch simply isn't there right now. This version tries, pushes, and when he pushes too far, the pain snaps back. He knows it, the staff knows it, the locker room feels it. Some will say the team nudged him to return too soon. The 49ers have a long history of aggressive timelines, optimistic updates, and yes, setbacks. Purdy tried to prove he could go, played without rhythm, lost zip, and aggravated the injury. Now it sounds like the player has drawn a line. He won't return until he feels like himself again. This time, Shanahan seems aligned. Inside the building, there's concern, but also a plan. The goal is to have a fully functional Purdy for December, not a limping hero in October. Until then, the offense needs to win ugly if it must. Lean on the run game and the quick game, and let the defense set the table. The faithful will hold their breath because nobody wants a sequel to 2023 when the dream died for lack of a healthy quarterback. And while Levi's waits for answers, a separate roster ripple is changing the depth chart in ways that could matter by Sunday. Tuesday began with movement inside Levi's and not just in whispers. The team released tight end Messiah Swinson from the practice squad, a low-profile move on the surface that hints at deeper retooling. Swinson arrived in September after time with the Packers and Panthers, and now the front office is clearing lanes for targeted tweaks. On Monday, Braden Willis returned to the practice squad, and a day later, linebacker Stone Blanton was added. Two pieces that signal an emphasis on versatility heading into Week 8. Meanwhile, tight end George Kittle recently returned from a hamstring injury after a stint on injured reserve, strengthening the offensive depth chart. Kittle's presence changes the geometry of the offense. The line settles when he's attached to the edge, the run game breathes, and the play action again forces defenses to honor every step. Shanahan knows it, and the staff intends to ride that momentum. So cutting Swinson isn't just administrative, it's a sign of confidence that Kittle is ready and that Willis can develop behind him. Blanton's arrival offers another clue. The team wants more defensive depth to counter the losses up front. A young linebacker with pop and instincts against the run is exactly the type this staff loves to mold. These small moves are chess pieces sliding quietly before the attack. Every detail matters when the margins thin in January. All of this comes on the heels of a statement win over the Falcons, a result that lifted the room at a moment when injuries could have cracked it. The atmosphere is cautious optimism. The message is clear: tune up the machine now to avoid a breakdown later. And with the deadline drawing near, everyone knows nothing is truly still. Every cut and every signing can be the prelude to something bigger. So here's where we land, faithful. A giant rumor that could bring the Condor to Santa Clara, real urgency off the edge without huff, an uncomfortable mystery in our quarterback's foot, and quiet roster moves that point to something larger. If Lynch and Shanahan hit their targets, Levi's becomes a cauldron in January. If they hesitate, every snap turns into survival mode. I want to hear you. Is it worth paying a premium for a true game changer right now? Who's the ideal addition to turbocharge this defense? Drop your take in the comments, share this with a friend, and don't forget to like and subscribe, because tomorrow we'll be right back here. This is your show, faithful. Make your voice count and keep this conversation going all week. No excuses.